Hello. So I would like to present to you what I think is probably the worst adventure game I've ever heard of. It is a long while ago. I played this when I was a child, and honestly, I regretted it. I didn't even like it that much back then, and now I can see how truly terrible it is. And there are only, as far as I can tell, like 2 videos on YouTube concerning this game, and since making videos of crap games is apparently a thing now, I thought it probably deserved one more. So this is Wild West on the Commodore 64 from Andromeda Caesar Studio in 1985. Now those names are actually quite big. Andromeda was a British company that generally either imported or commissioned games from Eastern Europe, and that at one stage imported a rather little known but quite popular game called Tetris. Caesar Studio, on the other hand, was named after its founder, who was something like Andrea Cesaruk, some name that sounds like Caesar in Hungarian, which later also became known as Novo Trade and then as Appaloosa. In other words, it won't echo the dolphin. So these are actually quite talented people, which makes it even more baffling that they produced something this awful. So we'll see exactly what's wrong with it in a moment, but let's just watch the intro, which is probably the best bit of the whole game. Okay, so what do we have from that? First we have that in spite of the fact that we are in the Wild West, there are sprites. Not generally a particular feature of the Wild West that I recall, who are little creatures who know lots of things and give you advice. This is a lie. What they do is to repeatedly lead you to your death over and over again. And it says they are full of spite if you hurt them. You cannot hurt them in this game. You will want to, but you cannot hurt them in this game. Apparently, maybe you just kicked the living daylights out of them beforehand. But, because they definitely seem to have a grudge. The second thing is you will notice that intro completely failed to tell us anything about what we are doing, who we are, or why we are in the desert. And as far as I can tell, there is no reason for any of those things. The only reason for any of those is that it's what we thought of for the start. The only clue you get is in the manual, where it says that your aim is to liberate Fort Snake from Big Nose Bill, which apparently involves standing in the desert. The other thing is that this prompt helpfully says, press fire if ready to go. Pressing fire does nothing. So you can sit here pressing fire as long as you like. What you actually have to do is move the joystick. So you can move the joystick in 3 directions, right, down and left. Each one makes one of these sprites appear, suggesting something you could do. And also, if you press fire with nothing on, then it turns off that really annoying bleeping noise, which I'm going to do, and which is absolutely essential to do later on. Oops, we've just lost the game. Sorry, that noise just means that a real-time event has just happened elsewhere on the map, and we weren't there for it, so we've lost. So let's just look at these options. Take a stone, examine the skull. It's boring here, let's take a stone. To choose what to do, you press fire. Destroy the skull. It's boring here, examine the skull. Destroy the skull, well done. By the way, if you destroy the skull, you've also lost the game. So when they say, well done, they are lying. This place has a bad feeling. It's boring here. Let's go. So now we get to learn about this game's movement mechanism. There are a whole bunch of phrases that the sprites might say that basically mean let's go somewhere else. Unlike a sensible game... Oh, that's the other real-time event we've just missed. Unlike a sensible game, where these would be like go west or go east, here we just have these random phrases that mean let's go different places. And when we choose them, we just get to more areas in the desert with similar prompts. There's no left or right, there's no go east or west. We're literally navigating by trying to pick between these phrases. Move on quickly. This place has a bad feeling. It's awful. If you choose it's awful, it'll then start saying, you need brains. To do what? We have no clue what we're doing here. Let's turn the beeps back on. So, this is your first experience of this game. You have no idea what you're doing, and you're wandering around in the empty desert following these prompts that don't mean anything, and occasionally being insulted and being told you're supposed to use your brain. And as I say, we've actually lost the game several times over, because there's no way back to that place where the skull was, and there's a critical event there. So we've lost. And of course, given that we're wandering around in the desert, is there any reason why we can't just go back to where we were? Well, no, of course, there's no reason at all, other than the fact that we have this stupid navigation with phrases that don't mean anything. So at this point, even the game is offering us, do we want to give up and start again? Let's do that. And we're back to press fire, where you don't press fire. Let's examine the skull. Oh, look. That's neat. We're dead. Right. As you can imagine, by the way, when that happened when I was a kid, I was done with this game. That was petrifying. I mean, it probably doesn't come across at this point, but that zoom effect was actually really hard to do on the Commodore 64. So again, we see that these were good programmers. They just somehow managed to completely screw up any attempt at making a fun game. The other thing you might have noticed, that big pause, even though there was nothing to tell us, so when this happens, we can actually access the sprites now. If you choose anything wrong, you still die. And this is another reason why you have to turn off the beeping, because if you don't turn off the beeping, then there's no way you'll wait for all 3 of the messages to type out before the snake kills you. So, now can I remember how we actually get anywhere in this game? We do need to take a stone. Now we go to another location. I think it's with It's Boring here, and we take another stone. Now you have to pick the right way of leaving, because if you pick the wrong way of leaving that doesn't take you back to the skull, you've lost, because you can never get back. Right, we're back. Now we can examine the skull. And now we've got the larger stone. Kill the snake. Oh, we've just lost because we missed the timed event. We might get there in time. I doubt it. I better restart. But I just wanted to make clear, if you only take the smaller of the 2 stones, then then the snake kills you anyway. And there's no way of... no hint that that was why. So let's try and do this a bit faster. Kill the snake. Examine the skull again and take the gold nugget. Okay, that's our quick time. We might just make it. You have to be in the right location for it. Notice this. I don't know what to do, because he knows all and will tell you all. I think we've just overall been too slow, actually. We're probably going to have to start the game again, so you can press up to do that. It gives you a password, and as you can probably guess from a password in the game of this time, that's a save option. What you might not know is there's actually no option to type in your password and load the game. The only reason you would type in your password is if you go on to the next part of the game. And that's because when you finish a part, it doesn't tell you. You just have to wait till you think you've done everything in a given part and then move on. Oh, and we just ran out of time on another timed event, even though we were in the system menu. So restart from the beginning, and let's try and do this quickly. Take a stone. Oh. It's boring. Take another stone. It's boring. Examine the skull. Kill the snake. Examine the skull again. And take the nugget. Leave. Save state. Couldn't do that originally. I think it might be here, or it might be the other one. No. Oh. It's one of these locations where the one who says wait is in the middle. I think it's this one. Okay, it's 4 cactuses. Reload state, we're actually there anyway. So we just have, I think, to just sit and wait. You can choose that option if you want to. Oh, no. It's the wrong location. And notice there we just ended up exactly where we started from. Maybe it's this one. Reload. Remember, you had to do this without save states originally. So, as you can tell, our brains would not really have helped at all with this. What we are actually trying to do is, when that little tune plays, there is a roadrunner who spawns on one of the screens. And you have to chase it. If you don't chase it, then as far as I'm aware, you've missed it. It will never come back, so the game's over. This is for a while. No, wrong place. Navigating by these stupid phrases just gets on our nerves. I think this might be it. Might be very good if I end up. Okay, let's see if it's here. Oh, yeah, well, I'm not doing it because I can't find the Poxy Roadrunner. Hey, this is really getting on my nerves now, because the annoying thing is, the first time I played this, I found it no problem. I don't think it'll ever come back now. Yeah, it's awful. That pretty much sums this whole thing up. Right. I can't find the Roadrunner, so I'm basically just going to leave this here and tell you this is exactly what is wrong with this game. 90% of the time, you're just wandering aimlessly with no clue as to what you're doing or why you're doing any of it. So let me actually tell you what comes up. If you find the Roadrunner, then you can chase it. Once you chase the Roadrunner, all you can do is let it go, and then you just end up standing around in the desert. That's literally all. There is nothing else that it does. You just let it go after a while, and you end up in one of these locations again. However, once you have followed the Roadrunner once, you can find the Stagecoach, because that second sound is the Stagecoach coming, but you can only see the Stagecoach if you've chased the Roadrunner. Makes no sense at all, but that's how it goes. When you get on the Stagecoach, you can either give them the gold nugget to take you to town, or you can run after them and hide underneath the coach, which is what you have to do, because if you do that, if you give them the nugget, then you lose the nugget, and then you can't ever use it again. If you hang on to the coach, then the Stagecoach gets robbed, And you actually just end up back on one of these screens again, except there's a wrecked stagecoach. So this, it's awful. This is the screen where the stagecoach wreck appears. So this big empty space in the middle, that's where the wrecked stagecoach is displayed, but it isn't being shown yet. That's the stagecoach. So we've missed it now, because we didn't find the roadrunner in time. So this, it's awful, was supposed to be about the wrecked stagecoach and the robbery. But it just says it early for no apparent reason. However, once you have seen that, this option, I don't know what to do, takes you into the town. Seriously, you pick this and you end up in the town. In the town, you trade your gold nugget for some money, and then you go into the saloon. And in the saloon, there is a gun. Now, if you take the gun, then immediately the sheriff shoots you. And this generally happens if you take any of the other options to do bad stuff in town. If you, for example, try and rob the bank, it's like grab the money and run is an option. If you take it, then the sheriff shoots you. You can also buy the guy in there a drink. If you buy him a drink and then take the gun, then the sheriff shoots you. If you buy him 3 drinks and then take the gun, then the sheriff shoots you. If you buy him 2 drinks and then take the gun, then the sheriff comes into the saloon, challenges you to a shooting competition, and if you succeed, he says you're a good guy and lets you chase some horses for him. That's literally it. You have to buy the guy exactly 2 drinks, not 3, not 1, not none, in order to not get shot when you pick up a gun. At that point, you know, I only learned about that from the internet. When I was a kid, I was completely stuck when I got to the town. That was literally the point at which any semblance of sense in this game I gave up on. Later on, you get such fun as just finding lying around a camera, you know, a box brownie, and then just carrying it with you while you climb up the wall of a fort. I'm not quite sure how anyone can manage this. So I was hoping to show you a bit more of the game, but the insistence that the sodding... Actually, I'm going to try one thing. I'm going to restart because I have a terrible feeling that there might even be something I'm underestimating about the shittiness of this game. Don't worry, I won't take you through the whole thing if this does work. No, still can't find the Poxy Roadrunner. Alright, sod it. This is no fun at all. So, there you are. That is a truly terrible game, which I've never seen listed anywhere else. You can actually get to some points where the graphics are slightly more interesting. But there is absolutely no point where the puzzles or indeed anything that happens makes sense, or indeed is in any way exciting. So that, together with the fabulous Wander, are pretty much listed as my worst games ever. Yes, and yes, they are even worse than E.T. Thank you.